Alexandra Eala versus Hailey Baptiste game day. Everything you need to know.
The stadium lights were blazing. The crowd was loud. Cameras were flashing from every angle. But then, something shifted. A silence fell that no one expected. All of Washington was watching, but nobody was prepared for what was about to unfold. Because this wasn't just another match on the schedule. This was tension. This was pride. This was pressure building in real time. And what happened next shocked everyone. When Alexandra Eala stepped onto that court, you could see it in her eyes. Calm, but intense. Focused, but carrying something heavier. On the other side stood Hailey Baptiste, confident, composed, representing home soil with the weight of expectation pressing down on her shoulders. The energy wasn't loud at first. It was tight, controlled. Like both players knew this match meant more than just ranking points. But that was just the beginning. Washington had seen great matches before. Big serves, dramatic comebacks. But this one felt different. There was something unspoken in the air. A silent rivalry building with every warm-up rally. And behind the scenes, the pressure was even more intense than anyone realized. Because for Eala, this wasn't just about winning. It was about proving she belongs on this stage. And for Baptiste, it was about defending her territory. But here's where it gets interesting. From the very first game, the rallies were longer than expected. Neither player blinked. Every point felt like a statement. Baptiste fired heavy ground strokes, trying to dictate early. Eala absorbed the pace, redirecting with precision that left the crowd murmuring. You could feel the chess match unfolding. Strategy versus aggression. Patience versus power. And then came the moment no one expected. A break point. Early. The kind that can change momentum instantly. The crowd leaned forward. Baptiste bounced the ball, took a deep breath. Eala stood still at the baseline, eyes locked. The serve exploded off the racket. The rally began. 12 shots. 15. 17. And then, a backhand down the line from Eala that painted the sideline. Gasps. Applause. Shuck. That wasn't just a winner. That was a message. But that was only the surface of what was happening. Because what they didn't show on television was the silent pressure building point by point. Baptiste wasn't just facing an opponent. She was facing the unexpected resilience of someone who refused to back down. Eala wasn't just hitting clean shots. She was sending a signal that she wasn't intimidated by the moment, by the crowd, or by the narrative. And this is where everything changed. Midway through the first set, momentum began to swing like a pendulum. Baptiste raised her intensity, stepping inside the baseline, forcing shorter replies. The crowd roared with every aggressive finish. For a moment, it looked like experience and power would take control. But Eala's body language never cracked. No panic. No rush. Just quiet adjustments. A deeper return. A sharper angle. A disguised drop shot that caught everyone off guard. The scoreboard tightened. The tension doubled. But the real turning point was still coming. At 5-5, the atmosphere became electric. You could feel hearts pounding in the stands. Every missed first serve felt louder. Every line call felt heavier. Baptiste saved one break point with a fearless forehand. The crowd erupted. But on the next rally, Eala extended it again, pulling Baptiste corner to corner, exposing just a fraction of hesitation. That fraction was enough. Another break. Another stunned reaction. And suddenly, the narrative shifted. But here's the shocking detail. This match wasn't just about one set. It was about identity. About who handles pressure when it becomes unbearable. When Baptiste started the second set with renewed aggression, it was clear she wasn't going away. She attacked second serves. She shortened points. She forced errors. And for the first time, Eala looked human. A double fault. A mistimed forehand. The crowd sensed vulnerability. But what happened behind the scenes of that moment was even more surprising. Instead of retreating, Eala leaned into the chaos. She slowed the tempo. Took extra seconds between points. Reset her breathing. You could almost see the calculation happening. This wasn't panic. This was composure under fire. And gradually, point by point, she rebuilt control. A heavy cross-court exchange. A surprise net approach. A passing shot that silenced the loudest section of the crowd. The match was no longer predictable. It was volatile. And then came the explosive moment. A tiebreak. The ultimate pressure cooker. The kind of stage where careers pivot. Baptiste struck first, a mini-break. Cheers echoed through the stadium. But Eala answered immediately with a fearless return winner. 1-1. Then 2-2. Every point felt like a cliffhanger. At 5-5, time almost stood still. A 22-shot rally. Breathless. Relentless. Neither willing to blink. And then, an unexpected error. Baptiste netted a forehand by inches. Silence. One set point for Eala. The serve came. The rally unfolded. A final backhand that clipped the line. Game. Set. Shock across Washington. But the story didn't end there. Because what this match revealed was bigger than the scoreline. It exposed growth. Mental strength. The ability to adapt when momentum disappears. For Baptiste, it was a reminder that talent alone isn't enough. Composure decides everything at this level. For Eala, it was confirmation that she belongs in these high-pressure battles. That she can handle hostile crowds. That she can stay calm when everything feels like it's slipping away. And that realization may be the most important victory of all. And here's the real reason this match matters. It signals a shift. A new wave rising. A rivalry that could shape future tournaments. The tension between these two players didn't feel temporary. It felt like Chapter 1. The kind of matchup fans will circle on the calendar next time. The kind that grows louder with every encounter. All of Washington may have been shocked. But those watching closely saw something deeper. A transformation happening in real time. A player stepping into a bigger version of herself. And another realizing the margin at this level is razor thin. Because in the end, this wasn't just about who won or lost. It was about who handled the moment when it mattered most. It was about silent pressure, hidden adjustments, and the explosive turning points nobody saw coming. And if this was only the beginning, imagine what happens next. But if you think that was the final chapter of this story, think again. Because what happened after that tiebreak win didn't just affect the scoreboard, it shifted the emotional balance of the entire stadium. You could see it in the way Hailey Baptiste walked to her chair. Focused, yes, but now carrying something heavier. And across the net, Alexandra Eala wasn't celebrating wildly. She was calm. Almost too calm. And that quiet confidence, that's what made the difference. The third phase of the battle began not with noise, but with tension. The kind that sits in your chest and refuses to leave. Baptiste came out swinging, bigger serves, flatter forehands, stepping inside the baseline like she had made a decision. No more long rallies. She wanted control. She wanted dominance. And for a few games, it worked. Quick holds. A sudden break chance. The crowd felt alive again. But here's where it gets interesting. Every time Baptiste pushed forward, Eala found a way to stretch the court wider. A looping return deep to the backhand. A sharp angle that forced an awkward recovery. It wasn't flashy. It was strategic. Almost surgical. And that's the part nobody talks about enough. The hidden chess match behind every rally. This wasn't power versus power anymore. This was patience versus urgency. And urgency can be dangerous when pressure is rising. At 2-2, the rally that changed everything happened. It didn't look dramatic at first. Just another baseline exchange. But then the pace increased. Baptiste tried to finish early. Eala tracked it down. A defensive lob. A smash retrieved. 15 shots turned into 20. The crowd stopped reacting. They were just watching, frozen. And then Baptiste blinked. A forehand wide by inches. A tiny margin. But in matches like this, tiny margins create massive consequences. You could feel the shift immediately. Eala broke serve in the next game with a sequence that felt inevitable. A deep return. A heavy cross-court. A disguised drop shot that left Baptiste sprinting hopelessly forward. The applause wasn't just loud, it was stunned. Washington had expected a fight. They didn't expect this level of composure under fire. But that was just the beginning of the psychological battle. Because now Baptiste had to chase. And chasing changes everything. Your shot selection tightens. Your timing rushes. The serve that once felt automatic now feels like a test. Eala sensed it. You could see her take just a little more time between points. Adjusting her strings. Breathing slower. Making Baptiste wait in that uncomfortable silence. It wasn't gamesmanship. It was control. Silent pressure at its finest. But Baptiste wasn't done. At 4-3, down a break, she produced a burst of fearless tennis that reminded everyone why she's so dangerous. A backhand return winner out of nowhere. A bold net approach. A scream of release that echoed across the court. Break back. The crowd exploded. Momentum swung again. And suddenly, the narrative flipped one more time. This is where lesser players crumble. This is where doubt creeps in. But Eala didn't flinch. Instead, she responded with something even more powerful: discipline. No reckless shots. No emotional reaction. Just structured, deliberate patterns. Heavy to the backhand. Changed direction late. Opened the court. It wasn't spectacular. It was suffocating. And Baptiste, for all her firepower, began to feel it. At 5-5, the tension was unbearable. Every rally felt like it could decide the match. Every point carried the weight of hours of preparation, months of sacrifice. The stadium lights seemed brighter. The silence between serves felt longer. And then came the moment nobody expected. A double fault from Baptiste at 30-30. Not a huge error. But in that moment, it echoed. You could almost see the frustration flicker across her face. 1 point later, a deep return forced another mistake. Break point Eala. The rally unfolded cautiously at first. Then explosively. And finally, a backhand down the line that clipped the edge of the baseline. Gasps. Shock. Silence. Eala was serving for it. But serving for a match under this kind of pressure is a different battle entirely. The first point, an ace. Clean. The second, a grinding rally finished with a forehand winner. 30-0. The finish line was visible now. But pressure doesn't disappear, it multiplies. A tight forehand into the net. 30-15. A long rally ending in an error. 30-30. The crowd sensed one last twist. And then, on the biggest point of the night, Eala delivered her boldest shot, a fearless inside-out forehand that painted the corner. Match point. The final rally wasn't dramatic. It was decisive. A solid serve. A short reply. A controlled backhand into open space. Game. Set. Match. Washington stood in applause, not just for the winner, but for the battle. Because what they witnessed wasn't just a tennis match. It was a study in mental strength. In adaptation. In who could stay steady when everything felt like it was shaking. And if this performance is any indication of what's coming next, one thing is clear. This rivalry is far from over. In fact, it may have just begun.